Thank you, friends. I am Tutor Cletus Okoli. Today, we want to discuss about percentages. Percentages is everyday mathematics in the life of everybody. So we want to look at a simple way that we can approach percentages. Be you a parent, be you a student, you need percentages. Now let us dive in. If I have, let's say, 100% of 80. Under normal circumstances, this thing means 100 all over 100 times 80 all over 1. That is the meaning of percentage. So, and that is how we can solve it. This means I can cancel this to get 80. In other words, we can say that 100% of any number is that number. 100% of any number, 100% of 1 million is 1 million, 100% of 10 is 10, 100% of 1 is 1, 100% of 2 trillion naira is 2 trillion naira. So we write it like that 100% of 80 is equal to 80. Simple. Number 2, if I want to do 50% of 80, this is 50 over 100 multiplied by 80 all over 1. If I saw this, 0 cancel 0, 0 cancel 0. 5 times 80 is going to give me 40. Let us put it like this, that 50% of any number is half of that number. So 50% of 50 is 25. 50% of 35 is 17 and a half. 50% of 10,000 naira is 5,000 naira. 50% of 8 cents is equal to 4 cents. 50% of 30 euros is equal to 15 euros. So we now say that 50% of any number is equal to half of the number. Good. Let's go to 10%. 10% of 80 is 10 all over 100 multiplied by 80 over 1. 0 cancel 0, 0 cancel 0. 1 times 80 is 8. So we can now say that 10% of any number is divide that number by 10. 10% of 1,000 is 100. That is 1,000 divided by 10. 10% of 5 is just 0.5. 10% of 1,000 euros is equal to 500 euros. So we can now say that 10% of any number is equal to that number divided by 10. So 80 divided by 10 will simply give us 8. That way we can always approach real life situations. You have a business, you are a land agent, and you had a deal on a land that worth 12 million naira, and you want to know what is 10% that you are entitled to be given. That is simply divide 12 million by what? 10. And that will give you your value, what you are supposed to take. Let us look at 5% of 80, and that is 5 over 80 over 100, of course, multiplied by 80 over 1. So 0 cancel 0 here. 5 here is 1, and 5 into 10 is 2. 2 here is 4. So this is going to give us 4. Let us always see it this way, that 5% of any number is divide that number by 10 and divide it by 2. Meaning that 5% of 80 is 80 divided by 2, which is 80 divided by 10, which is 8. And the 8 divided by 2, which is 4. So therefore, we can say that 5% of 100 is simply 100 divided by 10, which is 10, 10 divided by 2, which is 5. So 5% of 100 is simply 5. Let us look at 500. 5% of 500. That is simply 500 10, which is simply 50. 50 divided by 10 by 2, which is just 25. So 5% of any number is divide that number by 10 and divide again by 2. So when I divide 80 by 10, I get 8. And when I divide 8 by 2, I get 4. Now, I have 1% of 80. So this is going to be 1 over 100 multiplied by 80 over 1, which is equal to 0.8. Now, looking at this, we can conclusively say that 1% of any number is simply divide that number by 100. So let's put it like this. 1% of 5 is 0.05. That is, I divide 5 by 100. 1% of 500, I will divide 500 by 100, and that is just 5. Okay? Now, I want to find 1% of 200 euro. That is simply equal to 2 euros. I want to find 1% of, let's say, $278. That is going to give me $2.78. That is what it means. So 1% of any amount is simply to divide that amount by 100. As simple as that. So you are looking for 1% of 100. That is giving you 1. Okay? 1% of 72 naira is simply 72 kobo. Okay? That means divide 72 naira by 100, and that gives you 0.72. In other words, it is 72 kobo. Now, going by this knowledge, 100% of any number is that number. 50% of any number is half of the number. 10% of any number is simply that number divided by 10. 5% of any number is simply that number divided by 10 and then divided by 2. And the 1% of any number is just divide that number by 100. And to divide by 100 is very easy, because I want to divide 432 by 100. What I need to do is to count back 1, 2. That gives me 4.32. It's easy. Now let us apply it generally, that you have 50% of 72. You need not to do any calculation here, but rather you take half of $72, and that is going to give us $36. As simple as that. Then 20% of 24. This 20% of 24 is the same thing as saying 20% is the same thing as saying 10% times 2. Okay? Now, I come to 24 and find 10% of 24. And 10% of 24 is simply 24 divided by 10. As we say, that 10% of any number is divide that number by 10. So, 20% of 24, first and foremost, I have to find 10% of it. And 10% of it is 24 divided by 2. And when I do that, I will get 2.4. Sorry, 24 divided by 10. And when I do that, I'll get 2.4. So I will now be doing 2.4 times 2. Okay? Since it is 20% that I need, 20% is 10% plus 10%. It is the same thing as 10% times 2. So I'll just find 10%. Very easy to do. 10% of 24, which is 24 divided by 10. That is 2.4. And now multiply 2.4 by 2. And that is simply going to give me equal to 8.4.8. So 20% of 24. I need no calculation. I don't need pen and paper. I don't need calculator. I don't need phone calculator to get that. I simply divide that number by 10 and multiply my result by 2. So it is a mental calculation. Let's come to question number 3. I have 11% of 720. I want you to see that 11% is the same thing as 10% plus 1%. If you look at what I have done, we say 10% is divided that number by 10, while 1% is divided that number by 100. Beautiful. So I can now simply say that 10% of 720 is 72. That means divide 720 by 10. While 1% of 720 is simply 7.2. So that is plus 7.2. So in other words, my result is going to be 72 plus 7.2. And that is going to be 79.2. Easy. Oh, percentage. It is everybody's mathematics. You go into a shopping mall, you see a discount of 10%. You need not to start looking for calculator. You can just look at it, stay at it, and then the answer comes into your mind. As simple as that. You do mathematics like Peter Obi, the financial mathematics expert. When he is quoting figures, people think he's making mistakes. The young man, for over time I have listened to him, is always correct. In fact, with the confidence interval, just 5%. And any student with anything above 90% is in the distinction level. That is wonderful. Now let's also look at this. 46% of 50. 46% of 50. I want you to see something very important. Let us look at this. Do you know that 46% of 50 is the same thing as 50% of 46? Which means my answer is simply equal to half of 46, which is 23. Beautiful. I will prove it. I am given to find 46% of 50. And that means 46 over 100 multiplied by 50 over 1. In other words, I am multiplying 46 by 50 divided by 100. Now, let us also look at 50% of 46, which means 50 over 100 multiplied by 46 over 1. Now watch out. 46 times 50. 50 times 46. 46 times 50 over 100 is equal to 50 times 46 over 100. Therefore, since I know that 50% of any number is half of that number, and I am given 46% of 50, I just switch it. That becomes 50% of 46. So I just go ahead to get the half of 46, which is 23. Beautiful. Simple tricks in percentages. That is what we are discussing. So that from today, you begin to practice it. Percentage is what is in everybody's life. You speak percentages every day. As you go, you negotiate businesses, deals in percentages. You go into stores and shopping malls. You see percentage discount. Percentage applies to everybody that lives in our daily lives. Let us look at number 5. 89% of 100. But remember we said 100% of any number is just that number. Don't you think we can switch it to become 100% of 89, like I have proved? That 89% of 100 is the same thing as 100% of 89. And that means my answer is going to be what? 89, because we say that 100% of 80 is 80. So 89% of 100, which is the same thing as 100% of 89, is equal to exactly 89. Very beautiful mathematics. Can we now look at number 6? 43% of 10. 43%. That means you can apply it to so many numbers. You switch it. The key is between 100%, 50%, 10%, 5%, and the 1%. You can switch it. Look at how I did 11%. I just splitted it. I know 1%. I know 10%. I don't need calculator to get that. I don't need calculator to get 1% of any number. I don't need calculator to get 10% of any number. So 11% of that number is 10% plus 1%. And that gives me the value. In my mind, I can get the answer. Tutor so good. Share the video and subscribe to my channel as a way to support me. In this, let us switch it to become 10% of 43. Which means we say that 10% is simply divide that number by what? By 10. So I can simply say that 43% of 10 is equal to just 4.3, because 43 divided by 10 is just 1 0. You move back one step. Okay, assuming it is $43 and you want to get 10% of it, the answer is going to be $4.3. Assuming that is 43 million, the answer is going to be 4.3 million. So 43% of 10, okay, is the same thing as 10% of 43. We can now go to number 7. And number 7, we are asked 30% of 15 million naira. Agree with me that 30% is the same as 10% plus 10% plus 10%. But I can simply put it 10% times 3. So that means 10% times 3 is the same thing as 30%. Which means I am pointing to 15 million naira and dividing it by 10 to get 10%. And when I get 10%, I multiply it by 3. That gives me 30% of 15 million naira. And you see, it is very easy. So what will I do? That becomes 15 million naira divided by 10. Is going to give me 1.5 multiplied by 3. And 1.5 multiplied by 3 is going to give us 4.5 million naira. Simple and easy. Number 8. 124% of 50. Remember, we have said something about 50. Switch it. Look at it here. 50% of any number is half of that number. So, asking me to find 124%. See, there are so many ways you can do it, but the more excellent way is to switch it. And that becomes 50% of 124. But remember what I said, that 46 times 50 over 100 is the same thing as 50 times 46 over 100, because addition is commutative. See with me that 2 times 3 is equal to 6, and the 3 times 2 is equal to 6. That 10 times 12 is equal to 120, and the 120 times 10 is equal to 120. So they are all the same. I can simply say that multiplying 124 by 50 is the same thing as multiplying 50 by 124 and dividing by 10. So, but 50% says half of the number. That means 50% of 124 is simply going to give us 62. Easy. Number 9. 5% of 120 pounds. Remember 5%. Divide by 10, divide by 2. Beautiful. I divide 120 by 10, I get 12. I divide 12 by 2, I get 6. That is equal to 6 pounds. 6 pounds. That is equal to 6 pounds. Beautiful. Lastly, the last but not the least, 1% of 500 euros. Look at it. 1%. I divide by 100. Now, we don't even need to go much. Divide by 100. These are these answers. And that means my answer is going to be equal to 5 euros. 1% of 500 euro. Divide 500 euro by 100, and that gives us 5 euro. You can apply it to different values, to different numbers, millions, trillions, billions. You can apply it. Percentages. It is the mathematics of everybody. Financial mathematics, banking industry, that is what they use. Don't always use the calculator and press. Divide that in percentage by 100 first and then multiply. But you can apply your mental power. God bless you. Remember to share my video. Let it go viral. That is a way you can support me. But remember, before you share, subscribe to yourself, you that is looking at me. Percentages. I will do more of percentages. Percentage discount, percentage appreciation, in different ways. I will do more videos on percentages. Thank you and God bless.